Hi Year 2, and for the next couple of weeks we're going to be talking about measure. And we can measure lots and lots of things. We can measure time, and we've looked at that already. We can measure mass, so how much things weigh. We can measure liquid, so capacity, how much water is in a container. We can measure temperature using a thermometer. So there are lots and lots of things that we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks, but we're going to start with measuring how much things weigh, or measuring the mass of something. Now, you might have seen some of these at home or at school. We've used these at school when we've done some cooking or some investigating. This sort you might not have seen before. This is a dial scale. Now, these used to be very, very popular. This first, then this, but now most people have one of these. Do you have one of these at home? These are a set of weighing scales. If I can turn it on, activate, we get a digital display that tells us how much something weighs. So these are brand new electronic fancy gizmos and gadgets that didn't used to exist. And before they did, people used to use something like this. And before this existed, people used something like this. It's important we can learn to use all three. Now, if you've got one of these at home with this fancy digital display, great. You can use those for when you're doing any baking or measuring of anything at home. But it's also important, just in case you don't have one of those and you've got one of these, that you can learn to read this dial too. Now, if you can see on my scales, my digital display's just switched off because I wasn't using it. We have some very important letters on those scales that tell us how much something weighs. And we talk about grams and kilograms. Now, the way I want you to think of it is grams are very, very small and they're not very heavy. So if something isn't heavy, something is light, we might measure it in grams, because it wouldn't take many grams to weigh the same. Kilograms are quite heavy. If you think of a big bag of sugar, that weighs about a kilogram. Normal bags of sugar might be 500 grams for a small one, or a kilogram for a big one. Bags of flour, normal size bag of flour, a kilogram. So when we're measuring heavier things, we use kilograms, because kilo means 1,000. So there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. We'll do lots more weighing and measuring, and you can have a go at home so that you see how much stuff weighs. If you've got one of these, have some fun with it. Go into the kitchen, find out how much things weigh. Obviously, you need to ask permission before you go rummaging around in the cupboards, but as part of our investigation at the end of today's activity, you might want to grab hold of these or the other types of scales and balances if you've got them. On with the learning. Grams. Instead of writing grams on everything, we're a bit lazy people, and we just write the letter G. And instead of writing kilograms on everything, we write kg, kilograms. G for grams, kg for kilograms. When you wrote your autobiographies, you might have asked your grown-ups, how much did I weigh when I was born? And they might have said, you were 3 kilograms. So when you were first born, people put you on the scales, and they got a reading of kilograms. I thought it would be really useful to see what sorts of things we measure in grams when they're not heavy, and what sorts of things we measure in kilograms. Let's start with grams. These are the things I could find at home that were measured in grams. You will have your chance to do this later on today. So, my butter is 500 grams. So it's quite heavy, but it's not a kilogram. A kilogram is 1,000. Butter was 500 grams. Let's write that down. 500. And I'm going to remember my units, G for grams. Really important we remember. Just like when we're doing money and we write Kenyan shillings, got to remember my G for grams. My cheese here was 250 grams. It didn't weigh as much as the butter. My crisps or potato chips, when you think about those, they're not very heavy at all, are they? No, my crisps were only 50 grams. And then my spices, I've got some of these tropical heat tubs of spices at my house, and that was actually 200 grams. It's a big one. Big tub of paprika. They're not very heavy things, and we measure them in grams. Kilograms, we can measure lots and lots of things using kilograms, from things that are quite heavy to things that are very heavy. Let's have a look at these things. Okay. Flour. Now this is one of the big bags of flour. We could have had rice here as well, or pasta. Those things, big packets that you can get in the supermarket. This one is about this tall, and this is 2 kilograms. Or 2,000 grams, but 2 kilograms for this big bag of flour. Charcoal. Now this is a really big bag of charcoal that I have for my barbecue. Really big bag of charcoal, and this is 10 kilograms. We've talked about baby already. This baby was 3 kilograms. And then a grown-up, a person, an adult. We step onto these electronic scales. The number goes up. And we realise, oh no, I've been eating too many of Miss Barnes' tasty treats. A grown-up could be anywhere from 60 or 50 kilograms all the way up to 100, more than 100 kilograms, depending on the size of the person. But I'm going to choose 70 kilograms for this person. So grams for things that aren't very heavy, and kilograms for things that are. How do we know what stuff weighs? Well, we use these things. And today, we're going to be concentrating on this one. Now, because I don't know if you've all got one of these at home, I've made some on here. And you can see it on your class dojo. This side, this one is good for grams. Grams. And this side is kg for kilograms. Kilograms. It's really important. The first thing you do when you step on a scale or when you look at some scales is you check, am I counting grams or am I counting kilograms? So we've checked the units, so we know what the units are. And then you've got this dial with numbers, just like a clock face really, and then an arrow pointing at one of the numbers. Now all of them today will be pointing at one of these numbers. As we move through this week, and into next week, it's going to get a bit more tricky, and it might be pointing between some numbers, but for today, it's pointing straight at those numbers. And all you have to do is look at the scale and tell me the number that it's pointing at. It's not always easy, because the arrow might cover up the number. So you might have to use the scale and think, okay, what's after 1? Does that make sense if I carry on reading around the scale? Well, let's find out. 1, 2, 3. Right, okay, so under here, I'm pretty sure we've got 2 grams, G for grams. Remember your units. And over on this side, oh, well, it's exactly the same numbers, isn't it, on this one? So this is nice and easy. 1, 2 kilograms. Whatever we put on this one is obviously much heavier because we're using kilograms. This one's really, really light, 2 grams, probably this thing here. And this one, big bag of flour. Let's have a couple more goes together before I ask you to go off and do these independently. Okay. Here's the next one. What do you think is shown on this scale? What measurement? Well, first, let's check. Okay, it's good for grams. We know it's grams. Then we check the scale. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's just going up in ones. That's nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good for grams, we write the answer and we remember our units. 4 grams. And over here, well, we don't have the first number. That can be a bit tricky. I mean, we could ignore this to start with and then see 2, 3, 4 for us in ones again. So what comes before 2? 1. So we could write 1 kilogram. Remember, check those units, because they are going to be some grams and some kilograms in your learning today. Okay, one more example. Have a think about this one first. What measurement is shown here? Hopefully you've decided 10 grams. Check grams. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 grams. Over on this side, what measurement is shown? 11, 12, 13 kilograms. Check. Do that my units match up. Kilograms. Super job. I know this isn't very tricky today, but we've got to get this right before we move on to the next thing. So today's maths is going to be easy peasy for everybody. Here are your steps. Look for the units. That's grams or kilograms. Then you count the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you decide where that arrow is pointing. And then you write the answer neatly. This is very important. Some people's maths learning has not been their personal best. You are all going to do your personal best today. I'm going to show you what a good one looks like. Here's the activity. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, Q, R. Just up to R. Here is what a good one looks like. In your maths book. A. And then the answer that you think. One number in one box. 5. Next box. Good for grams. Really, really neat. Then leave a line. B. Then you write the answer that you think. 7. Good for grams. If you're writing kilograms, I'm going to use this C as my example. 4. You can write K and G in the same box next to each other like this, because it still looks really neat. Right, I'm leaving a line in between each one, and I've written my A, B, C really neatly, and I've got one digit in one box, and I'm using those lines. That is what a good one looks like. It's what yours will look like today, just with different numbers, because it's not 5, 7, and 4 to start with. When you have finished, and if you have time and somebody at home to help you, I want you to have a go at this next extension. Go into your kitchen or other parts of your house, maybe you have a larder or a pantry, and find things. Look at food packets and see if you can see on them good for grams or kg for kilograms. Packets of pasta, packets of rice, packets of all sorts, cookies, biscuits, crisps, chips, everything. Solids. If you start looking on liquids, like bottles of water or juice or squash or milk, you will find ml instead. We are not looking for those today. We're looking for solid things. So solid butter, solid cheese, solid crisps, solid spices. Have a look in your kitchen, around your house. Put them in 2 groups. Take a photo. I'd love to see the things that you find. If you can get nice and close to the things so you can see that it shows, like on my packet of crisps, make this nice and big. If you look very closely, here it says 50 grams on my packet of crisps. Everything in your house that you bought from a shop has those things on, so look carefully. Job number 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, all the way down to R. Job number 2, if you would like to, send me a photo of things in your house that you found, how much they weigh in grams or kilograms. I look forward to seeing it, everybody. Have fun with this maths today. We find measure everywhere, and it's super useful if you want to be a chef or a baker, or you just like doing things like that in the kitchen. Okay, I'll see you all very soon. Bye.